The Wild West hides stories that the official version tried to erase. Between the mid-19th century and the early 20th, the United States went through not only expansion, but also dangerous myths, clashes of interests, and figures who became legends. In this reading, we invite you to discover 25 unexpected facts, unearthed from forgotten archives and interviews with historians. Many have never come to light, and even the well-known ones take on a different meaning when seen from behind the scenes. Number 1. Pinkerton, the outlaw hunting machine. From coast to coast, just the name was enough to send chills down spines. Pinkerton. Founded in 1850 by Allan Pinkerton, the agency changed the game by bringing together techniques that were rare at the time. Criminal portraits, searches for marks left by fingers, and files that cross-referenced names, routes, and accomplices. Decades before the FBI, these methods were already guiding investigations and ambushes. Jesse James and his gang? They were never caught alive, but the constant pursuit pushed them into tighter and tighter corners. Over time, the Pinkertons expanded their role, offering protection to politicians and tycoons, and cementing their reputation as an arm of the law that sometimes pressed too hard. In the West and in the cities, their mark remained. Number 2. Salting the Earth, the gold and diamond scam. In 1872, with gold fever still shaking the markets, Philip Arnold and John Slack announced a discovery. In a corner of Colorado, there was a field of rare stones. The news spread through clubs and trading tables. Bankers, politicians, and mining barons saw it as a chance to get in early on a vein that could change fortunes. The trick was simple. The pair scattered diamonds and rubies bought elsewhere, burying them in spots. On guided visits, the first digs would yield sparkle and stir urgency. If it's right on the surface, imagine what's deeper down, many thought. Afraid of missing the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity others were already chasing. The scheme collapsed when they called in geologist Clarence King. By comparing shape, cut, and origin of the samples, he exposed the mismatch between what was found in the soil and what the local geology could actually produce. His method was enough to break the spell. What seemed like a rich mine was just a setup. The episode stood as a warning. When the promise comes too easy, double check and don't rush. Number 3. Bass Reeves. The legend who may have inspired the Lone Ranger son of enslaved parents. Bass Reeves escaped during the Civil War with little more than the will to live. He found refuge in Indian Territory, learned native languages, and built alliances that kept him safe from capture. When the war ended, he returned as a U.S. Deputy Marshal west of the Mississippi, the first black man in that role. In the records of the Fort Smith Court, his name appears alongside Judge Isaac Parker, a sign of rigor and method. Between long rides and warrants, he arrested more than 3,000 criminals, some of the worst in the Wild West. His story, marked by cunning and discipline, fuels the idea that he may have been the model for the Lone Ranger. Number 4. Calamity Jane, life, legend, and contradictions. Martha Jane Canary, known as Calamity Jane, was born in 1852 and broke expectations in the Wild West by taking on roles seen as masculine. Orphaned early, she took responsibility for her siblings and learned to survive in hostile territories. Her figure, however, was never easy to define. Some describe her as a loyal ally and skilled sharpshooter. Others claim that many of her feats were exaggerated by her and by writers seeking an audience. Between news stories that mixed fact and rumor, her story grew larger than life and became a symbol of the ambiguities of the frontier. In local newspapers, the tale took on new shapes with each edition, fueling the public's curiosity. Number 5. The Enigma of Alfred Packer. In 1874, Alfred Packer crossed the Rocky Mountains with 5 men and vanished into the winter. Months later, he reappeared alone. Before the Lake City court, he gave conflicting versions about the group's fate. Searches found bodies in different places, with marks consistent with violence and signs of cannibalism. Packer claimed he killed in self-defense and only turned to human flesh to keep from succumbing to the cold and hunger. The jury didn't buy it. He was convicted and imprisoned. Preserved in Colorado's archives and newspapers, the episode gained the status of a Wild West myth and still fuels books, films, and debates about how far necessity can push someone when the landscape turns hostile. More than a crime, it remained a case study in survival and ethical dilemma, a reminder that on the edges of the West, law and hunger fought brutal battles. Number 6. The train heist. On a night in 1866, a whistle cut through the silence and announced more than just the passing of a train. It marked the start of a method. Along the tracks of the Ohio and Mississippi Railway, John and Simeon Reno carried out the first major train robbery in the country. The heist brought in about $13,000, enough to buy land and influence. The impact echoed and became a playbook for others like Jesse James, who would refine the technique. Nothing was by chance. The brothers mapped routes, schedules, and the guards' routines to guarantee surprise. From then on, the train became a stage of profit and risk, an image that cinema cemented in the myth of the Wild West. The plan demanded calculation, studying timetables, measuring stretches, and predicting the guards' response. This criminal engineering became the Reno brothers' trademark and a guide for those who came after. Number 7. The Johnson County War. In 1892, Wyoming saw a conflict erupt that pitted cattle barons against small ranchers. On weak accusations of theft, the powerful hired gunmen to set an example. What followed were cut fences, houses set on fire, and executions in broad daylight. Families fled with whatever they could, while others were left at the mercy of fear. The escalation forced federal intervention, exposing how in remote areas, money and prestige set the rules. Less remembered than the shootout at the OK Corral, the episode shows the harsh side of American expansion and serves as a warning. When the law steps back, abuse finds room to return. Number 8. When barbed wire changed the West. Until the 1870s, the plains of the Wild West were open fields. Herds crossed without a visible owner, and small ranchers feared seeing their livelihood swallowed up by a neighbor's cattle. In 1873, Joseph Glidden patented barbed wire. Simple and cheap, it made it possible to fence land, separate herds, and keep intruders out. The effect was immediate. Texas long drives lost momentum, border disputes intensified, and deaths followed. In just a few seasons, the open horizon turned into a grid. Fences redrew the map of ranching and shifted power from those who once lived freely on the land. Number 9. Belle Starr, the Lady of the Forbidden Frontiers. Before wearing fame, Myra Maybelle Shirley Reed learned the rhythm of the western roads alongside names like Jesse and Frank James. Her marriage to the Cherokee Sam Starr brought her closer to horse-thieving gangs, and a life of getaways and packs sealed her nickname, Belle Starr. With a neat hat and pistols at her waist, she moved between saloons and woods like someone playing with fate. Official records cemented her reputation as someone who mixed calculation with bravery. In 1889, at age 40, she fell into an ambush with no culprits. The unsolved crime solidified the myth and fixed her image as the woman who, by defying the rules, revealed the ambiguous face of the Wild West. Number 10. Stagecoach Mary, Courage on the Road Through the West. Mary Fields, known as Stagecoach Mary, broke barriers of gender and race when, around 1895, she became the first black woman hired by the U.S. Postal Service, and in doing so, paved the way for others. With a rifle and revolver at her side, she rode alone through the tough routes of Montana. Prejudice surrounded her, but her discipline soon spoke louder. People said that if she came to a frozen river, she would cross it rather than fail a delivery. That's how her reputation as tough was cemented. In challenging times for women, especially black women, Mary left a legacy of courage and service that still echoes in the Wild West. Her story became a reference point for perseverance and public service. Number 11. Bodie, Echoes of Gold in Silence. In California, Bodie thrived in the 1870s during the gold rush. In no time, saloons, gambling houses, and brothels drew adventurers from everywhere. When the veins ran out, the fever faded. Then came fires that left behind only wooden shells and dust. Today, the place is a historic park, preserved at the very point where life stopped. Visitors say they notice figures in the windows and footsteps crossing empty streets. One swore he felt a chill while passing the old bar. And the belief goes, anyone who takes something without permission carries bad luck until it's returned. Legend or warning, Bodie still holds on to those who visit. Number 12. War in Cochise County. In Tombstone, Arizona, the clash between the Cowboys, Sheriff John Behan, and the Earp brothers alongside Doc Holliday sparked a dispute that went far beyond the shootout at the OK Corral. In 1881, half a minute was enough to etch the duel into the memory of the West. But the story didn't end there. Ambushes followed, revenge killings, and nights when the town breathed gunpowder. Morgan Earp was shot in the back. Wyatt answered with a relentless manhunt. Gunfire echoed through the streets, reinforcing Tombstone's reputation as a place of danger and weak authority. There, law and loyalty were measured by the barrel of a revolver. Number 13. The Legend of Billy the Kid and the Chained Tombstone. William H. Bonney, known as Billy the Kid, is said to have fallen in 1881 at Fort Sumner under the shots of Sheriff Pat Garrett, a version accepted by historians like Robert M. Utley. In just 21 years, he became a symbol of the Wild West, with stories that shaped him as a cunning outlaw. His grave, now a point of curiosity, suffered repeated attacks. The tombstone was stolen twice and had to be secured with iron chains. Still, voices persist swearing he escaped and that the wrong man was killed. Is it a myth that refuses to die, or a clue to a past still clouded? Number 14. The Enigma of the Lost Dutchman's Gold. In the Arizona deserts, the Superstition Mountains hold the story of a German immigrant, mistakenly known as the Dutchman. At the end of the 19th century, he is said to have found a gold mine like no other, and died without revealing the way. Since then, expeditions have tried to decode the invisible map he took with him. Locals speak of a curse, disappearances, falls, unexplained echoes, and lights in the dark. Newspapers recorded searches and vanishings, feeding the legend. Today, hikers and treasure seekers still roam the canyons, guided by rumors and promises, waiting for the spot that might turn sand into fortune. Number 15. When the Table Decides Fates. In the saloons of the Wild West, the clinking of glasses and the shuffle of cards drowned out any caution. Among the regulars who gambled their own future stood out Canada Bill Jones, a master of three-card monte and a man with a charm that could unsettle even veterans. To him, money in the wrong hands was just waiting for someone sharper. On that frontier, the promise of gain walked side by side with cheating and violence. Alongside Doc Holliday, rare dentist, frequent gunman, Bill fed the legends. A single turn of a card could change the course of a life, or end it for good. Number 16. Sand Gold, Frauds in Ghost Towns. When mines ran dry or the railroad changed routes, western towns could wither overnight. In that setting, swindlers showed up with the old promise, "We've reopened a vein." They sold shares to those hoping to make up for lost time. To legitimize the scam, they displayed nuggets bought elsewhere and cited the opinion of a so-called geologist. Rushed by the fear of missing out, investors handed over their money. Then came the disappearance. No records, no returns. In areas with almost no oversight, the con kept repeating itself. For some, it was the mirage of easy money. For others, an expensive lesson. Number 17. Cherokee Bill, Heist and the Gallows. Crawford Goldsby, known as Cherokee Bill, was born in 1876, the son of an African-American man and a Cherokee woman. Still a teenager, he turned to crime in Indian Territory, today's Oklahoma, in robberies that soon left people dead. His reputation spread faster than he did. A feared gunman, he became a constant target for sheriffs and federal agents. Captured, he was convicted of murder. He was 20 years old when he climbed the gallows and fired off the phrase that stuck, "Hurry up with this hanging, I haven't got all day." His short life exposes a West in turmoil and an environment that shaped choices with no way back. Between legends and trials, one question remains. How did a boy become a symbol of a time with no brakes? Number 18. The lost photo of Arizona's Thunderbird. In 1890, two hunters near Tombstone, Arizona, claimed to have taken down a huge winged creature. The newspaper The Tombstone Epitaph reported that a photograph existed, the animal stretched out and pinned to a barn wall. The image, however, never surfaced, though locals swore they had seen it. From there, the story took off. Some spoke of dinosaurs that had survived, others of mythological beings from the Southwest. Paradoxically, the lack of proof kept the tale alive. The debate resurfaces, and it always ends with the same question: where is that photo? With lost clippings and conflicting reports, the case became an example of how rumors grow. The debate persists and always circles back to the same point: what happened to the photo? Number 19. Charlie Parkhurst, the driver in secret. Charlotte Charlie Darkey. Parkhurst chose to live as a man in order to work as a stagecoach driver in California and be taken seriously. Travelers remembered the episode of the robbery. With guns pointed, she kept a steady hand on the reins and saved the trip in that Wild West. Through storms, dust, and long journeys, she faced daily risks on the road. Only in 1879, after her death, came the shock. Charlie was a woman, and there are reports that before the law allowed it, she cast a clandestine vote, a gesture that would echo in the future suffragist movement. Number 20. Ice storm, the cattle collapse. In the winters of 1886 and 1887, a series of blizzards swept across the Great Plains and caught ranchers off guard. The episode became known as the Great Dieup. Entire herds dropped in just a few days, with reports of ranchers who saw their cattle vanish overnight. Historians estimate the deaths of hundreds of thousands of animals from cold and hunger, crashing prices and wiping out ranches. The shock ended the era of open ranges and forced new practices in management, fencing, and winter feeding. Number 21. The Marfa Lights, the desert enigma. In southwest Texas, since the late 19th century, small spheres have appeared on the horizon, moving as if playing with the night. Researchers from the University of Texas have recorded sightings. Explanations range from reflected headlights, though reports predate the automobile, to mirages and gases released from the ground. Some prefer the supernatural route and see them as spirits. With no consensus, the mystery became an attraction. On clear nights, tourists gather at the official viewing spot, fall silent, wait, and say a chill runs through their bodies when the lights begin to dance. Number 22. Rails and Frontiers, Chinese in the West. The gold rush and the march of the railroads brought thousands of Chinese immigrants to the West in the 19th century. People like Li Wen dug tunnels, handled dynamite, and ended the day in tents after more than 14 hours of work. The pay was low, the risk and hostility were constant. Even so, their labor was crucial to connecting the country. On stretches of the Transcontinental Railroad, about 90% of the workers were Chinese. When construction slowed, many moved to San Francisco, Seattle, and Deadwood, where they opened laundries, restaurants, and businesses that shaped neighborhoods. The political response closed doors. The Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 restricted entry and made life harder for those already there, leaving scars that still echo. Number 23. Buffalo Bill takes the West to Europe. William Frederick Buffalo Bill Cody was an Army Scout buffalo hunter, and above all a showman. With Buffalo Bill's Wild West, he turned the image of the West into an arena attraction. Cowboys raced across the ring, lassos cut through the air, and alongside chiefs like Sitting Bull, staged battles drew applause while leaving wounds. The company toured the U.S. and crossed the Atlantic, performing for crowds in European courts. It's said that Queen Victoria admired the horses and the supposed authenticity of the reenactments, a decisive boost to global fame. At the same time, critical voices denounced the stereotypes and the reduction of native cultures to spectacle. Number 24. The final resting place of outlaws. In the Wild West, bandits often demanded that their coffins carry revolvers, decks of cards, and bottles of whiskey. The belief was that these objects would serve them in the afterlife or keep their reputation alive after their last breath. Anyone who touched a worn deck or a twisted holster swore they felt the owner's presence. Over time, cemeteries with famous names became stops for travelers. Some went out of curiosity. Others desecrated graves in search of metal, ignoring stories of spirits. This built a fog of legends that marked many graveyards as haunted, deepening the fascination with that era. But the West wasn't just about duels on dusty streets. There were bold scams, unlikely figures, native myths, women who blazed trails, immigrants laying down tracks and chilling stories, all driven by conflict and opportunity. And you, what did you think of these 24 facts? Which one surprised you the most? Did you already know any of these stories? Comment, share, and subscribe to catch the next videos. Let's keep traveling this road of mysteries together.